we're going to take a case study in the scriptures. So the concept of obedience with the case study of Adam and the case study of Jesus. So we're using Jesus and Adam as the case study in the study of obedience, because now you need to know that Adam was called the first Adam, but Jesus was called the second Adam. So we need to look at the first Adam to see the concept of obedience, and look at the second Adam to see the concept of obedience. And second Adam here does not mean there's a third Adam, fourth Adam. So he's the second and the last Adam. So you now need to know, is either you are a descendant or you are of the lineage of the first Adam when you are not born of the Spirit of God, or you are of the generation of the second Adam when you get born of the Spirit of God. So here we want to look at obedience from the first Adam and the second and the last Adam. In the book of Romans chapter 5 from verse 19. Romans chapter 5 from verse 19. If you study the Bible in the book of Romans chapter 5, if you read the whole of Romans, you're going to see the concept of obedience and some of the things that obedience did. But we want to just zero or narrow the search and the study on Romans chapter 5 from verse 19. So, for as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners. So you notice the Bible says that that the day you eat of the fruit in the garden, you will die. So what happened is that sin of disobedience led to the death of humanity. So humanity died in one man, and that one man was Adam. So for as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners. So we became sinners by inheritance because somebody originally sinned that led the whole of humanity into sin. But not only that, this sin opened the gates to death, because the sin led to death, and that was the death of the first family, or the first man and the first woman, and that was Adam and Eve. Now that brings us to something, that their disobedience opened the gate for death to enter amongst humans. Their disobedience opened the gate for death to enter. So what it means is that Adam's disobedience to God led to the opening of the way, opening of the gate for death to enter amongst humanity. And that tells me something, that your obedience can open the gate of life, because Jesus' obedience opened the gate of life, and were made righteous in God by the obedience of one. So the obedience of one led to life. The obedience of the disobedience of one led to death. So that brings us to an understanding that your obedience opens a gate, and your disobedience can open another gate. What kind of gate? Your obedience opens the gate of life, but your disobedience opens the gate of death. So Adam's disobedience to God opened the gate for sin, and sin led to death. So humanity died in Adam because Adam disobeyed God. And that tells me that one of the major consequences of disobedience is death. Disobedience opens the gate to some grave consequences that cannot be explained with words. So in the case study of Adam, Adam's disobedience opened the gate to sin, and sin led to the death of humanity. And in the case study of Jesus, Jesus and his obedience opened the gate to life. And that life is the Zoe of God that brought us into right standing with God, which is righteousness. So that brings us to an understanding that one man's obedience led humanity into destruction. One man's disobedience led humanity into destruction and death. And one man's obedience led humanity into life and righteousness, which is right standing with God. Praise the Lord. So that tells me something, that your obedience carries blessings, and your disobedience have great consequences. Your obedience carries a blessing, But your disobedience has great consequences. Negative consequences that follow personal or private disobedience is not private but public. The negative consequences that follow the personal, that thing you did in the secret, that follows your personal disobedience, or that follows your private disobedience. You disobeyed in the secret. The consequences that follow it is not private. Adam and Eve disobeyed in the secret. They disobeyed in the private. Nobody was there except the two of them. Eve, nobody was there. It was the serpent that witnessed the disobedience of Eve, and it was Eve that witnessed the disobedience of Adam. But their disobedience was not of private consequences. Their disobedience was of public consequences, which led to the death of humanity. So your disobedience is not private. The consequences that follow your disobedience is not private. So sometimes you say, it is my life. It is not your life. Because that your disobedience is going to affect the next person. Your disobedience will affect your wife. Your disobedience will affect your children. Because when the consequences come, you are not the only one reaping the fruit of those consequences. Some other persons that are connected to you, they are going to reap it. Your disobedience will affect your husband and your children. Your disobedience might affect your office, your boss, and every person associated to you. So you just need to know that private disobedience has public consequences. The private disobedience of going to sleep with a man that you did not know, and now you have contacted a strange disease, and you cannot move, and you are inconveniencing every person that is associated to you. You're not carrying you around, going to hospital. And that was it. So sometimes in the matters of obedience, it's not just me. In the matters of obedience or disobedience, it's not just me. It's not just my life. It is my life. It's not your life. That life is connected to a lot of people. The blessing on that life will bless others. The death on that life will affect others. So learn to obey God and obey constituted authorities and the constitution for the blessing that follows obedience. If you also know that the consequences that follow disobedience in the private or in the secret is not private, is public, you also know that the consequences or the blessings that follow obedience is also not secret, is public. You might obey in the secret. The Bible says that your Father that sees in the secret will reward you in the open. So nobody was there when you obeyed in the secret. And nobody will need to be there to be watching your obedience. But there is a God that sees your obedience in the secret and rewards you in the open. And the reason is his reward of obedience, because people tend to do what is highly rewarded, or the things that are highly rewarding. So your reward of obedience, or the reward to your obedience, will provoke a lot of others to walk on the path of obedience.